Oh, I know, right? It was such a great episode. I loved every minute of it. Oh, hello there! Didn't see you walk in. Don't mind me and Tom Servo. We were just talking about the all-new episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000 that just premiered today, March 4th, 2022. Yes, that's right. The new season of Mystery Science Theater 3000 is underway on the Gizmoplex app, which you can find on your phone, computer, or Roku, or all three if you're feeling froggy. And it's been a great night. I'll tell you, it was a fantastic episode. We had a lot of fun watching it, and I can't wait to talk to you about the episode and how great the new series is and what the outlook is for the future of the series. So let's get right into it. Let's not waste any more time. Here we go! Oh, sorry. Don't know what happened there. We had a minor glitch. We hope you enjoyed White Dot, though. He's going to be a permanent fixture here at Superfuzz Productions. That's right. No, but in all seriousness, if you know what I'm talking about, if you saw this episode, you know what I'm talking about. They live streamed the first episode of Season 13 of Mystery Science Theater 3000, and unfortunately they had a massive glitch in the system. Supposed to start at 8 o'clock, and they really didn't get started until about 8:26, around 8:30, because they had a massive glitch. So, but you know, that's how live television works. These things happen. Lord knows we've had our own huge amounts of troubles on the Smokin' Hot Toddcast Live, so it's all forgiven, no big deal. But yes, that's where that joke comes from. There was a bit of an issue with the live stream of the first episode, and it was unique because I'd never seen a live stream of a first episode of anything before. So it was really cool to see that, even with the glitches. If you can't figure it out by just looking at me right now, my all-time favorite show is Mystery Science Theater 3000. Tom Servo sitting right next to me back here. I have miniature versions of Tom Servo, Gypsy, and Crow T-Robot. And of course, I'm slightly decked out in MST3K apparel. And there's posters behind me of Mystery Science Theater as well. So, as you can imagine, I enjoy my MST3K. And with that in mind, I haven't even greeted you. Welcome to this episode. I'm Hot Toddy. It's another special TV edition of Get Real. And we had to do this. I had to talk about the first episode of Mystery Science Theater. As I've said, it's my favorite show, so I wanted to talk about it coming back on the air. This is the first time since Mystery Science has come back on television that I've had a show like this, an outlet to review and talk about the show in general. So it's exciting to get to do this, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. There's only been one new episode of the show in Season 13, which is where we are in Mystery Science's world. If you're not familiar with Mystery Science Theater 3000, I consider it the greatest show to ever air on television. It's about a guy and his robot friends who are forced to watch terrible movies aboard the Satellite of Love. There's a theater in the back of the Satellite of Love, and they're forced to watch the worst movies ever made. When the show first started, it was by Dr. Clayton Forrester, and eventually it was his evil mother, Pearl Forrester, and now it is the offspring of Dr. Forrester, Kinga Forrester, forcing Jonah Ray, playing Jonah Heston, to watch the worst movies ever made, and they've not missed a beat. I love this show very much. First 10 years of the show is from 89 to 99, split between Comedy Central and the Sci-Fi Channel, and they came back in 2017 on Netflix with seasons 11 and 12, and now their own special app called the Gizmoplex for season 13 and beyond. So I'm really excited to see where we go with this. In the first episode of Mystery Science Theater, the movie they watched was Santo and the Treasure of Dracula. Now, Santo is actually a very popular Mexican film series from the 50s and 60s. They did a ton of Santo movies, as well as Samson. You think about movies today that features wrestlers like Dwayne Johnson and John Cena and movies like that, and then back in the day we had Hulk Hogan and Mr. T in movies. This was basically the Mexican equivalent of that. Santo was a real, legitimate wrestler, and they turned him basically into like a superhero type thing. He always wore a mask. A lot of Mexican wrestlers always wear masks, and so he wore one, and that's what kind of gave him his superhero appeal. And like I said, they did a ton of those movies. This was another one. They've done one or two. Servo? What is one or two? The plot of Santo and the Treasure of Dracula is pretty simple. Santo wants to find the Treasure of Dracula, Yeah, how about that? So he sends his girlfriend back in time to the Victorian era to track down Dracula and I guess find out where he was and where the stuff was, where he hid all his property. They brought her back to the present, and then they go and search for the treasure. Only thing is, there's another dude that wants the treasure, and it ends up being a fight, and then lo and behold, somebody woke Dracula up, and he comes in on the fight. So Santos has to defeat the bad guy and eventually defeat Dracula, and it was a whole thing. But everyone ends up safe in the end. What's more entertaining is this movie was directed by Rene Cardona, who did a lot of those Santos films and a lot of B movies in the Mexican cinema. Most notably, one that I'm a big fan of is called Santa Claus. Mystery Science Theater did an episode on Santa Claus. Riff Tracks, the spin-off of Mystery Science, and our friends at Red Letter Media also viewed Santa Claus a few years back on one of their Christmas episodes. And in fact, when it comes to that Riff Tracks viewing, they did that live in Nashville, and Miss Pingrino and I were there. It's on DVD, and I have the DVD. I don't know if you see us anywhere. I've looked, I can't find it, but if you can find me and Miss Pingrino, we were there. We were there for that live show, and it was really fun. But anyway, that's the kind of movies that Ray Cardona did. His son went on to do other movies as well. Ray Cardona Jr. A lot of them probably people wouldn't know, except for a bad B movie that came out in the late 80s. It was the precursor to Birdemic. It was a film called Beaks the movie. This was also featured on Red Letter Media's Best of the Worst show, and it's laughably bad, but it actually holds your interest and is somewhat entertaining. So it's an okay film, but Beaks is actually widely known as sort of like the grandfather, or the father, if you will, of Birdemic, if you've ever seen that movie. So perfect movie to start the first episode of season 13 with. And now let's get into the show itself. The sets are a little wonky. If you know Mystery Science Theater, you know that the show is always, since 1989, has been kind of like a DIY type show. It's very much like arts and crafts, but that's the charm of the show, and that's what's so elegant about it, is they were able to make these little tiny sets that look like they're made of just like styrofoam and cardboard on a no budget and make an extremely compelling and fun show to watch. This go around, because they did a Kickstarter campaign last year to bring the show back in 2022. That was still during COVID. So when they started filming the shows, there were still COVID protocols that they kept in place. So they didn't create giant sets because they kind of wanted to keep people as far apart as they could. So a lot of it's done on green screen. And I don't hate green screen. We use green screens at Superfuzz. You know, we use a lot of green screen stuff. But when you're trying to make a TV show, it comes off kind of wonky looking, and it looks like it's on a green screen. That's my biggest complaint, is just I'm not in love with the sets. I think they could have done a little bit better with that. But for the money that they've used it for, it looks good enough. It looks pretty good to get by. And really, at the end of the day, you want the talent. You're not really looking for the sets. So you can kind of overlook the sets. It's not a huge deal. It's not a deal breaker to me, because I love the cast. And we need to talk about the cast, because this is the same cast from the Netflix era. Jonah Ray as Jonah Heston, the captive in space forced to watch movies. Baron Vaughn playing the voice of Tom Servo. Hampton Yount, the voice of Crow T. Robot, both very funny comedians. And comedian and actress Rebecca Hansen doing the voice of Gypsy, as well as playing the character of Cynthia, which is the robotic clone of Pearl Forrester, Kinga Forrester's grandmother, of course, and the mother of Dr. Clayton Forrester. And of course, Kinga Forrester, played by Felicia Day, and Max, TV son of TV's Frank, played by Patton Oswalt, who I adore, of course. And also on this first episode, I don't know, this is something I'm really interested to see if it pans out and what the future of this is going to be, but Mary Jo Pehl was in the first episode of the show as Pearl Forrester, her character, which you can see her. Well, maybe you can't see her. There's a glare there, but she's in that poster right there. She was the bad guy, the evil scientist in the Sci-Fi Channel era, Pearl Forrester, of course. And she was in the first episode, so I don't know if she's going to be throughout the season on the show, but it was great to see her. I was really excited to see her in that role, because now she's not so much as an evil overlord like she was. She's now just like the sweet grandmother trying to take care of Kinga. It's just cute stuff, and that's part of the charm of Mystery Science Theater 3000 is there's so much cute, funny stuff, while at the same time there's adult humor that adults would get, there's kiddie humor that kids would get. It's why it's one of the greatest shows in television history, because everyone can enjoy it. And that's why I'm excited that it's back, and it's fantastic. It's better than ever. Which leads me into probably my biggest compliment for the show is the jokes. One of the things that I think was a downfall for them in the Netflix era was the writing. The writers on the show are phenomenal. There's a lot of very great writers. But the problem was, instead of having like no jokes, which would make a show unfunny, they had too many jokes, which could also make a show unfunny. And so in the Netflix era, when they're in the theater and they're watching the movies, it would just go boom, 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 one joke right after the other. And like there was no time, they didn't give any time to let the jokes settle and just kind of gel for people to hear and take in. It was just one right after the other. But they fixed that in the Gizmoplex era. It's the jokes land, and they're a lot funny. They are a lot funnier, I think, than they were in the Netflix era. This is like classic MST3K, and it's something I've really missed. And so it was really great to hear jokes, and then the movie plays. Jokes, you laugh, the movie goes, and then they come back in with another joke. And that's how the formula of them in the theater on Mystery Science Theater 3000 works, is you have to let the jokes land, let people, take them in, make their decisions about them, and then you move on to the next joke. But in Netflix, it was one right after the other, which kind of put a damper on it. So I'm glad they cleaned that up a little bit and made the jokes a lot more coherent, and they were hilarious. I mean, I was cackling throughout, and that's what made me feel really good. It brought me back to the classic days of Mystery Science Theater. So the jokes have gotten a lot better. The sets have diminished, but again, that's just because low budget and it's COVID protocol. So they're trying to make it a little bit safer for everybody, which makes total sense. But yeah, so that's kind of the downfall. There were better sets in Netflix, but not as good jokes. Now, there's better jokes, not as good sets. One of the best things about this was, of course, it was live streamed. So Joel Hodgson, the creator and original star of the show, hosted the live stream and kept us up to date with what was going on. He was the one that introed the show, and right after the intro, we saw the big white dot. There's the white dot. Yeah, we just saw the white dot for a while, but then about 20 minutes later, we got the show. And they also did an intermission where he came back and spoke about different things, and they did a sketch and experiments and stuff like that, and it was really entertaining. I had a lot of fun, and it's always great to see Joel Hodgson. I've got to see him twice live in person, and he's always just a fun and happy guy, and he's happiest when he gets to bring this show back to life, and he's done it again, and it was extremely entertaining to see him. What I loved about the intermission that they did, because Joel Hodgson is notorious for doing sort of like prop comedy. He was sort of Carrot Top before Carrot Top, but yeah, he did prop comedy that was extremely entertaining and very funny. And he brought that talent to Mystery Science Theater when he first started the show. So they would do these like little experiments that were clever. Like, oh, I see what you did there. It was funny.
Our invention exchange this week is based on our Yuletide musings about what would be on the island of misfit toys, based on Rankin Bass's production of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Buttery sweet toaster dolls, yeah.
Or play Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse board game.
You can have absolutely no fun whatsoever with this Easy Bake Foundry.
Oh my God!
Yeah, got a hairball.
Oh, no, it's not. It's Gypsy's contribution to the new island of misfit toys, Mr. Mashed Potato Head.
Oh, puke.
And so they did something relatively the same during the intermission of the show. Apparently Joel is teaching classes on how to do different things with Mystery Science Theater fans, which are Misties, by the way, Misties. He's doing this with Misties, where he's teaching them how to riff movies, how to create the invention exchanges on the show, and a bunch of different things. And so he showed off an invention exchange that some of his students did, that they learned how to do in his class. It's sort of like those Coke machines where you can choose which Coke you want. Like, Coke is one of the main drinks you can get, but there's other buttons around. You can get Diet Coke, you can get Cherry Coke, you can get Diet Cherry, you can get, all around. So it was something similar to that, only it was off-brands, off-brands. And so, like, you could get, instead of Mountain Dew, Mountain Don't. Instead of Surge, Purge, things like that. It was really funny, and I was really entertained with what he did. And they've got a really strong staff of people. This is probably the strongest staff of people I've seen since their Best Brains days. They really found the right people to come in and conduct this show, and conduct it in an extremely professional way. So I'm really pleased with that. Minor things that they really can't. Any complaint that I've had about the show is something they can't fix now because the season's finished. They've done all the episodes, but it's something to maybe look for in the future. Obviously, if they get more money in the future, I wish they would work on the sets, particularly the Mad Scientist set. One of the most fun things from the Comedy Central and Sci-Fi Channel eras was it was fun to watch Dr. Forster and TV's Frank in the Comedy Central era, and Pearl and Professor Bobo and the Observer on the Sci-Fi Channel era, just doing their things, just doing the thing, wandering around on sets and doing funny sketches. They still do funny sketches with King of Forster and Max, but it's not as interactive because they're on a green screen. So that's one of the main things that was lacking from this, is just the set design. So maybe they can work on set design in the future, but other than that, I think this is going to be a stellar season of Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'm really looking forward to it. The jokes are on point. That's the biggest thing. The jokes are on point. And that's all you can really ask for from any episode of Mystery Science. So that's just kind of my review on what the first episode of the show. I think they're on the right course, and I look forward to seeing more episodes. I may be back in the middle of the season to catch you up on what's going on, or if not, I will definitely be back at the end of the season for a full recap of Season 13 of Mystery Science Theater 3000, but they're off to a great start. So here's to a new season of the greatest show to ever be on television. And now, more of the White Dot. Goodbye, everybody. See you next time.